Welcome to the podcast of To Be or Not to Be an Architect. And it's a podcast where I'll be presenting guests from various backgrounds and how they came to be an architect, if they are an architect, and how their stories and struggles change their pathways. And I'm Leila Dinman. Today I have Sonia as
Hi.
my guest.
Hello.
We met doing our masters here in Rome at the Sapienza University, where we were doing our masters on architecture conservation. And so I want to talk a bit about Sonia's background in the beginning, just to understand how you came to this point, where you started, and just a bit on like where you are from and all that stuff.
Okay. I was born in Moscow and I got my bachelor degrees also in Moscow.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting to hear what made you interested in architecture as a child as well. Like, was there any family members or people close by?
They were not, because both of my parents are historians. So it wasn't, from the beginning, kind of wasn't in a picture, but I was always drawing all my life since I think it was like...
True.
Yeah, so at some point for some parents, I think who are also not into the architecture field, this is kind of an alternative if you don't want your child to become a struggling artist.
That's true, yeah.
So in the very beginning, I remember I had this conversation with my mom and she told me, with this education, after that, you can do whatever you want, just get an education. And then we understood that there are so many resources and struggling which you actually input in this education that most probably you'll continue with it in some way or another. But then initial thing was, the idea was just to get a semi-technical education, not just art-based, and then look what's next.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny in a way that in a lot of countries, I think, families think architecture is the more guaranteed escape of an artistic child.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times. So many families who are not architects think that architecture is the path between like technical and artistic that will save my child who's interested in arts.
Yeah, from hunger.
Yeah.
To be honest, nowadays I think the situation changed a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
If we're switching the subject in the field of opportunities after getting the degree, architecture teaches you a lot of different things. I sometimes I have a feeling that we know a little bit about everything, which is actually a bit miserable, because
I agree.
Like you think you have kind of a wild view on surroundings, but in fact it's a bit limited. The education usually not art-based enough and not technical enough.
Yeah.
So you're always in
the middle, in some limbo.
Yeah.
I agree. So what was your opinion on architecture before you entered, aside the fact that, okay, this might, as people say, this might be a bit of a guarantee path for me. What was your idea?
I think like the profession itself is glamorized a lot in a way that, like a few days ago, I opened like some websites with clothes, I don't know. And they had like a collection architect. And it's like, not Shein kind of website, but like a trashy in a way. And then they have like architect, like in general, I think this, as I said, it's glamorized a lot. So in a way we see the profession as something, in a way, I'm sorry that I'm, as I said, it's glamorized, and it seemed like something much more aesthetical and
creative,
maybe creative. And before seeing some of the architects, and the only ones we know are super successful. The same with actors. I think in a way architecture has the same kind of misunderstanding.
Sense of fame.
Misunderstanding of what the actual profession is.
I agree. And that was another reason why I actually wanted to do this podcast, because I think so many fields and also applies to architecture, we have no idea whatsoever about what a regular architect does. How you regularly enter architecture school, be a regular student, not even a bad student, just being like average or above average. And what does that person do? Like, even though I'm not saying we are average architects, I think we are still in a bit of a moving towards maybe a somewhat success, but still we are at the very beginning of it. And I just wanted to talk a bit about this part of the hidden side of architecture that, as we were sort of discussing before together, there is such a big part of architects that just do the simple drawings, the simple submissions, none of this like big scale designing or none of this star architect stuff. So I think it's nice to hear that it is a quite almost homogeneous entry expectation of students that they would become star architects in a way. For example, did you have the hopes of becoming a star architect like that?
I think that really depends on your personality. And like in architecture, so many, in most probably every profession, but in a way, to be successful, it requires not just talent, as in general in life, I suppose, but you have to be ambitious and you have to be extremely, like when we say average, if you want to reach some kind of professional success, which is also could be really different, but you have to be really obsessed and involved with this job. And this is something that I personally sometimes, like, I can't say that I don't like it in people, but also I have to respect it because that's the only way to reach this success, to be a bit, to make it, even though this phrase is completely annoying, but make it your lifestyle in a way. And even that doesn't guarantee you that much.
Yeah.
But it needs lots of work, I think, to reach a certain level. And yeah, in the beginning, I think like during bachelor's or even if you're studying in semi-prestigious university, you see your professors and most of them are people who don't struggle. Like, I remember my professor was like wearing like total Prada looks, and of course he looked extremely cool, and he is. He was driving a cool car, and he looked like a person who
is doing well.
He was not just doing well, but he reached all the goals he had in a way. And of course, when you see these kind of people, you assume that this is. But also, we kind of forget this. This is, I think, still profession which takes time. So there are extreme cases of like young people getting out there and reaching, but most probably it's you'll gain certain heights in your like late 50s or something.
Yeah, I agree. I've actually heard. I saw this one interview of these two super famous architects. It was Ian Pei and I think Eisenman. And it was like an interview from, I guess, the 80s or something. And they were asking these incredibly successful architects, like, oh, how do you become an architect? When do you know you're an architect? And I think it was Eisenman who was saying, oh, you only become an architect only in your 50s. Until then is just constant trying. And then you have the liberty of actually doing architecture. Until then, it's just going to be trying to satisfy everyone else's tiny wishes and needs in a way. I don't know.
Like even now, like kind of talking about this, like on this topic, I don't feel confident enough. And I got my bachelor's, took me 5 years.
So in Moscow, it is 5 years minimum.
Yeah, it's 5 years, and which is actually, I think, is a good thing because we start because we have 11 years of school. So usually you graduate school when you're 17.
Oh, okay.
And so when I started on my first year, I was 17, turning 18. So you're quite young to understand certain things. And these 5 years gives you time also to develop in a way. So when I see that in Europe usually it's 3 years, and I remember myself on third year of university, you're just starting. And these 2 years was actually a good
addition in a way.
Yeah, and the way we prepare, which is very unfair towards people who can't literally afford it and who live outside of Moscow. Usually people prepare with tutors, with private tutors for 2 years just to learn how to draw, learn how to do technical drafting, because the exam is really serious.
So this is the end of 5 years exam? Or this is the entry exam?
No, I'm talking about the entry exam. Takes you like
minimum 2 years.
No, it's not minimum. I would say minimum is 1 year, but like most people would say that they prepare for 2 years. So basically, you don't have experience of high school because, I mean, the fun experience, because you start to prepare 2 years in advance, and you pass exams, which are serious exams.
But the exams are like subject based, so you don't take like a general.
No, we do
generalized.
No, we do. We have a governmental exam, which is Russian language and mathematics.
Okay.
And then there is 3 exams in university exams.
Okay, so in addition to the point or ranking you get from the government exam, you take these 3 exams?
Yeah, but they are all from like 100 points. So in a way, they're equal.
Okay, so in total, as a result, you get a total point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And since you've been paying for the tutors, it's really important to get
scholarship.
Yeah, sorry, I was saying in Russian, hoping that Leila will understand.
Of course, I understand.
Because there is government-based scholarship, and it's giving you according to your points.
Yeah. Not so just success, not need-based. Then.
No, need-based. No, there is need-based quotes, but it's
very
not
small.
It's for people who are
like in extreme poverty or something.
Yeah, kind of, because you pay for these 2 years, you invest not to pay for the 5 years.
I see, because the government universities are free, or?
Not for everyone. They have, so it's half. If your points are high enough,
it is free?
It is free, so I wasn't paying. But if your is a bit less, then you have to pay.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I took exams both in Turkey and here as I was preparing. And for example, back in Turkey, you take a generalized test of 2 parts. At least that was the case when I was taking it. First, you take a generalized test of all subjects. And then the second day, you take a test of more, is still not subject-based, is still not architecture-focused, but for architecture and engineering fields, you would take science and mathematics focused test. And based on your ranking from your scores, you would be able to make choices like of universities. And the scholarship positions of private universities, of course, required very high grades and ranking. And government free governmental universities also required higher ranking. So a private university with no scholarship would basically require a very low ranking. So you could easily get in to a private university paying a lot of tuition when it would be very difficult to win a position at a governmental university for free. And in Italy, for bachelor's, I took a special architecture exam. And that year, this was in 2019, they were still doing the exam physically. And Italy was insane. So they did the exam beginning of August or something like that.
And you have to start in September?
Yeah. So basically, you took the exam. They would let you know of the results within 2 weeks. And then you move. Like,
but what about the visa applications?
So you first already have to apply for a visa to come take the exam.
Okay.
So they already give you a 2-3 month visa. in case you win it, you come and apply for the residence permit.
Okay, so it's a student visa.
Yeah. But it was a special type of student visa that let you enter twice with that visa, so that you could apply for your residence permit in the second time you enter. It was insane. And the fact that most universities throughout the world start in September already, you need to either have a B plan, or if you fail the exam, you're out on your own for a year. If you haven't had like already a set up B plan. So it's so interesting to me to see how different the entry styles to universities are. Like in one of them, for example, in the Italy exam, you are asked, for example, about design. What is axonometric? What is a section? You're not asked to draw anything. You're not asked to know like technical stuff, but still they ask you graphic stuff or history-based stuff or general culture. In Turkey, none of that. You could enter architecture with absolutely having never seen a plan or a section in your entire life, which I think is insane.
I would say like one side of me tells me that, for example, with how it's in Moscow, it's, as I think I said it, it's a bit unfair towards people who, first of all, can't go to Moscow every week to prepare, because usually the tutors, they are from Moscow, they worked with university, so they know the specifics.
Yeah.
So there were cases when it wasn't just like, there were also people from other towns, but for them it was double the work. And of course you have to be financially capable to do that.
Yeah.
So that limited opportunities for lots of people. But the other side of it, which is in a way possible, that these years of preparation kind of equals the level of the entry. So you start already with a good base. And I think when it comes to architecture, your surroundings sometimes are more important than the professor, especially in the beginning. Because we learn a lot from each other, first of all. And this feeling of the standard, especially when it's a high standard, makes you work a lot.
I agree.
So in a way, there's lots of architecture universities, but also when you're applying to the prestigious ones, sometimes you apply for professors. But I think something that is even more important, that this prestigious university will have a more skilled students. And this is fascinating when you look at like different like profiles or like portfolios of people, how the level varies. And you could be the best in your like in your group somewhere, but then you'll see person who like studied just in another school, and it's going to be two different worlds.
When I was talking to my bosses who are Harvard master's graduates, the main thing they always say is the fact that they had the privilege to study with these incredibly brilliant architects. Like, that was what was provided. It was gathering all of these super brilliant minds together to study for a year or two, so that they most of all learn from each other. And you were mentioning that the student life in your bachelor's was quite different than I think what we experience both here in master's, and I think in other countries it's quite different. So I would love to hear a bit more about how the student life was through the 5 years. For example, was it super intense lectures and theory throughout? And was the grades quite prioritized as like a focus? Or what was the main thing that you think those 5 years were designed to teach you in a way?
I remember when, I think maybe it's when I was in high school, I was kind of studying architectural class. So it was a common high school, but they, for some reason, decided to organize this thing.
Wow.
And it didn't really help that much. But somehow, when I went to university, I knew half of my group mates just because we were from the same school. And I was, because I really hated school for some reason. And for me, I was
like high school.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all, and I was like so ready to graduate and forget about it. And I was waiting for university as something completely different. And then I found myself in exactly the same school-like system. Like when the professors, they treat us like kids, like school kids, and the discipline, and now I understand why. And in a way, I'm grateful because it was. They didn't like, because that's in a way I think a bit different in Europe how I see it, at least at masters. In a way here they trust you a bit more to study on your own. With us it was not like that. We had so many subjects and some of them seemed completely unnecessary. And for example, we studied Russian language, we studied philosophy, politics. That was too much.
Also life-wise, I guess. Not just architecture based.
In my diploma, I have 75 subjects. And I know it took me 5 years, but that's a lot.
That's a lot.
I was studying English. We had PE classes. There was lots of extra time we would invest. Sometimes we didn't really understand why. Now, so it was full-time studying. And since there are so many subjects and so many like things that literally tear you apart, because you also have to want to have fun, like when you're like early 20s, and of course I graduated when I was 21, so 19.
End of 10s.
So in a way, at least I think in like my group of friends, there was some subjects which were important, like studio, for example, and we would care. But with some other stuff, you would think twice: will you invest your time on this or not? So we would choose what subjects we attend. Everything was mandatory. You just learn how to. At least for me, it was like that. I wasn't the most like dedicated when it came to philosophy, and maybe I was deeply wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, we see.
I remember the PE classes was something that I still don't understand why, but
you had to move.
Yeah, I know, but back then you just started. Like now, of course, I would appreciate that if my master's had a PE class, but back then I thought like, okay, I will have other.
That would be so nice though.
No, back then I was stupid. But but it was always. I don't like. It's hard to compare again because now I'm studying on the international course in masters, and it's still a bit different because just there is no average level because everybody coming from really different backgrounds, and it's really hard to find kind of the same approach or like a diagram to compare properly. And when you study together, like I did back in Moscow, we kind of were. It was easier to understand who is who, and
no, of course, I think that's a quite important factor.
And I know, at least how I saw it in a way, we were the circle is much tighter of like architects in, like I think in Russia, in Moscow, everybody kind of knows each other, or at least you will know about them. So we would. There is. I don't want to call it reputation because it's something, but you'll pay attention, like who's smart enough, who is talented, who is more artistic. We kind of knew about each other, such kind of things, and people would, because later people would collaborate. If your ex-group mate found a job, he might recommend you. So it was kind of important also to kind of have some kind of idea and understanding about each other, and
but
people cared about it.
Was there communication about it? I think what I found to be missing a bit more in my bachelor's is that there was more or less no communication and no curiosity of the other in my class, especially. maybe to mention a bit about where I studied in Politecnico in Milan, and I studied in the English course. So as you were saying, it was a whole bunch of students coming from this super different backgrounds, but somehow no one, not no one, of course, there was a group of people who were interested and they were my friends, but uh, there wasn't a lot of interest towards what the other was doing. At least that's what I perceived in a way. That what is this person doing? Oh, what are they up to? Oh, let me have a conversation with them. Like there was none of that sort of inter-peer curiosity. At least this wasn't common, you know? So it's interesting to hear that in your university you guys were like interested in what the other was doing and you sort of knew what they were good at and things like that.
Yeah, we were always working individually. We never worked in groups. It was really rare to work in a group. So in a way, if you're struggling, especially when you're just in a bachelor, you start learning programs, none of the professors will explain it to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of you and yourself. So this communication was just really important just to pass things. And also when there's so many subjects, somebody's good in math, like a technical disciplines, somebody's good in art, because we had painting, we had drawing. So in a way, there was a lot of inner communication when people like, I will draw it for you if you'll count for me the beam, in a way.
Yeah, that's quite important. Like,
so quite early in the beginning, you understand who is good and what.
I see. That's really important. I think maybe one big failure of maybe the Italian architecture system, according to me and my experience, is that there was like the only design that I had done on my own was the last semester of masters. Every other course, even some theoretical courses, I had to do group work. And when you're doing group work, you're incredibly limited to your group mates. And if you fail to choose a group mate collaborative enough, then you're out of luck. You know, you're sort of stuck with your group mate for the entire semester or the year. And there's sort of then this competition between groups that other groups won't help you out. That was like the case for us. And for 2 years, for my 2 first design courses, I was out of luck with my group mates. I was also maybe not a good group mate. I didn't know more or less how to organize working in a group, how to organize myself. And that just killed me. Like my grades were barely passing, even though I am interested in design. Now I realize I can do design. For those 2 years, partly due to my group situation, partly due to this no collaboration happening, I thought I absolutely sucked at design.
You know, I think there has to be a balance, because if for 5 years you're taught to work by yourself at some point of your life, because I mean, architecture is done by a group of people, yeah. And there has to be a balance, because I think that's a problem that I used to work on my own. I hope that I kind of managed to switch, but there has to be a balance, because yes, like in a way, your skills are like, if you constantly depend on somebody who can do something for you, and then they're good in one subject, and you just continue doing the same thing each year. Of course, maybe you're not like developing as fast as you would be, but also on your own, you're in a way. If you're lucky enough, as I said, if you're communicating, you're still like, you have competition, and you look around, it helps. But also you have to learn how to communicate.
Absolutely.
So there has to be both, I think.
Yeah. No, I think for sure this was like one of the big topics I actually want to talk about. How architecture school helped or failed us. I think one of the biggest things architecture school failed us, I think, is the both interpersonal collaborations, and I think this is crucial that all of the schools I have heard about is missing, is the inter subject collaboration. So we never had a group with an engineer, with a structural engineer. We never took even courses with engineers. We never took, I don't know, for example, we had this conservation class, and we had a chemist who was one of our professors. I thought that was the coolest thing because she could actually give us a scientific, chemical-based explanation on how materials worked. And even archaeologists, like we did restoration masters, I feel like it was necessary that we had to collaborate or at least attend some courses with archaeologists, you know? Because now, for example, I'm doing my thesis and I found this research book about my thesis subject written by an archaeologist, and it's absolutely like saving my life. And I thought I, as an architect, had to find these informations. When now I'm realizing, oh, it actually sort of enters the field of archaeology rather than what an architect does. So, like, through understanding also what other fields are capable of and trained to do, I'm discovering what the architect's job is, you know? Like, sort of seeing, because I feel like architects, in a way, are the chef in the kitchen or the conductor in the orchestra. But if I don't know what musicians are in the orchestra, how am I even supposed to think of how to organize them, you know? If I'm gonna be designing something, if I don't know who will be involved in the following design process, then how can I even start to structure my thoughts in thinking, okay, I'm gonna need to contact, I don't know, hydraulic engineer, archaeologist, or structural engineer, or this other person. Like, it also, I think, sets you back in the way of thinking, in a way that you think you as the architect are responsible of all of these fields, which in reality I think we're not.
I think there are not that many education institutions in general, not just in architecture, who can really prepare you for
real life.
Yeah, I don't want to go like to the medicine field. I hope they do, but with everyone else, I'm not sure. And it's tough. It might sound. I think we have to be here. Like, you're responsible for that yourself. At least I saw it like this, because I'm not sure that this is possible. Because while you were talking, as you mentioned, the field is so wide.
Yeah.
Then if you're doing interiors in the apartments, you would never think about archaeologist or chemist. You don't need it.
Yeah.
You have a very specific, you work in a very specific field, which is like borderline like scientific. But there's also architecture designers who had nothing to do with such kind of things.
No, that's true.
So university, okay, Sapienza is this course is conservation course is a bit specific, but also most of universities are preparing for general architecture.
Yeah.
And we're speaking about general architecture, then you can do whatever you want after that. And they won't, like, I studied 5 years. If we would ask them to do what we're asking, it's going to be 7, 8, 9. So. In a way, I think, because there is so, it's what they're trying to, at least like in my understanding, they try to, the most important thing is how many designs you've done. I think so, maybe I'm wrong. Because like in a year, if you do like 2 or 3 and then you're studying for 3 years, it's not enough. Because you have to train constantly. It's like going to the gym in a way, to train your mind and and with all the other subjects that they also have to give you, it becomes a bit blurry. And that's why masters are for. Like, in a way, my master's now is general architecture, which maybe is not the smartest choice. But I mean, you know my story, I didn't have that much options. But I think what's, for example, good about Sapienza, it's more specific. So in a way, you chose your path. But if you're speaking about bachelor's, I would say that the earlier you start working, if you can afford, because that's another issue. You have to be able to afford to work in architecture.
Yeah.
Because if you're lucky, if you're living with your parents, or you have scholarship, or you have some financial background, you can afford to work like summer for like 200 euros per month. They do this on the internships.
Maximum 200 euros a month.
Yeah, because the more you are actually in the office,
Yeah.
even if you're not doing shit or you're doing stupid stuff, at least you see what the others are doing.
Is the part I'm trying to point is like, then why are we studying this? You know, if we cannot create that job simulation and job education in university, then what is university for?
Leila, would you really want to have job simulation university? You would never want to even look at the buildings after that.
But maybe I shouldn't. Like, maybe it should have been more honest, you know, not this sugar coating about design.
Yeah, but you have to have this sweet period, like when you start to date someone. Well, imagine if you have like household problems from this first day. You have to have this few years of
I need to know how to deal with that as well, no? Don't you agree? Don't you want to at least notice the red flags in the first month, that then you can say, okay, I did see that coming. It's like my fault. I should have like acknowledged it and maybe made decisions accordingly. But now I take full responsibility. But then if they sugarcoat it, and then as a result, as right now I'm going through, you enter this internship and life is actual hell, and then it's just full disappointment, no?
Like, I think the thing that makes us disappointed is the financial aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because like I had different experiences. I worked for 2 years in a really nice office, and I was really grateful to like the environment. And then I had horrible experiences with internship, but this was completely crazy. And then now, for example, I'm working with a really nice student. It's really interesting. The problem is more is money, because nowadays architecture doesn't have that much. But I would say it's important for a student to start working as early as it possible.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just to understand what you're going to do next. Because this education is quite general, but it gives you some important skills. And these important skills you can use in many different ways. And I have lots of like somebody go into like game design, another one doing stage designs.
Yeah.
Some are like pursue like a more artistic career. Other ones go like in the project management. It has so many different opportunities.
That's incredibly true.
And the earlier you start working, the earlier you understand what actually you like. Because sometimes just studying university is not enough to see actually the variety.
Yeah, that I completely agree.
So,
but for example, this is another criticism I have of the universities. Like, okay, maybe I'm expecting too much from universities right now. I just want to propose like a change, at least to some minor parts of universities, because I think the way it is right now is absolutely failing students in having them in a tiny bit be ready for actual architectural life. And for example, one thing I also personally discovered, but this was purely out of my own personal interest, was like, for example, on the third year of my bachelor's, which my bachelor's was 3 years, so this was like the last year, we finally we had the choice between two studios. One was interior design, the other was conservation. So I chose conservation because I thought I had an interest. I absolutely loved it. It was my first and highest grade in bachelor's because I absolutely decided I loved the subject. And then I thought, okay, this is specific enough. I think I can be a specialist in this, and then that should be like secure enough for a job, you know? So that's how I chose to follow a master's in conservation. But before even coming to the master's, I was looking into some internships, and I found one in the lab of Politecnico, and they were doing absolutely insane stuff. They were the group who developed monitors for humidity in historic buildings. And they were architects, but they were working with drawings for representing humidity within historic buildings. Like incredibly specific. And I left the meeting with them and I freaked out because I was like, I really thought I was being specific enough to like have the rest of my life be said, say I'm a conservation architect, and that's enough to explain. And now I'm discovering even within conservation architecture, there's so many subfields that you can, I think, go through. And I feel like if we had like a, I don't know, base, what is architecture course, saying who you might be collaborating with, what kind of architects can you be, what is the current job atmosphere, you know, like this sort of general, what we now know as like basic information, maybe, was never actually spoken in the university, you know?
Yeah, but I think it's also it depends on how you view architecture as a subject. If you, in my opinion, if you view it as more artistic based education, then I feel that there is a lots of things you have to study yourself, because it's something that they can you provide some basics, they can guide you in a way, but at some point you, because again there's too many varieties, there are too many way of approaches, and in a way the studios we are doing, this is your chance to kind of see, and if you're lucky, also the problem that a lots of defined by the professors, how seriously they are taking the subject, how involved they are, how good they are with the students. And some of us lucky enough to meet someone who will see something in you and maybe like recommend you extra literature or just mention a project which will change something, or generally talk with you, because that's also something which lacks a bit.
I agree.
And then there is a more technical side of architecture where you have to study it in university. But I mean, I'm studying in a more art-based place, and you were studying in Polytechnic. So, and even Sapienza is more
technical, I think.
So, but since for me this part is kind of
painful.
So I was pursuing a more like design focused education, which maybe career-wise is not the best option. But this is also about you, like we started to talk about ambition in the beginning, and about willing to dig in information yourself and kind of taking education and in your own hands. And I think this is the most important thing in a way, being like borderline obsessed with the subject. And
that's true,
because there are so many of us, and they can't feed you stuff in how do I they can't feed you information to everyone, because there's too much of us. And this is kind of, you know, and the ones who are a bit more out there, more interested, more ready to kind of pursue the subject, to do things outside of school in a way. These are the people who, I don't know, you'll be hired later.
Yeah, I get that.
So this is kind of the problem, but it's also a way kind of to choose those ones who will like lead the industry.
Yeah, because I think architecture, more than most other subjects, is a very, if you don't have the personal drive for it, it's almost impossible for you to pursue.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of other subjects, with an average drive, you can go through it with no problem. Like, of course, you need some passion to do a job for longer than 2 years, but I think for architecture to be really able to make your life out of it, you need a lot of personal, constant persuasion that, yeah, I actually do choose and want to do this. Like we took this economics class, just about like real estate prices and how they're calculated and all that. And the guy was always saying, of course, we can make a price evaluation, but there can always be special circumstances where one buyer absolutely falls in love with some detail of the house and would be willing to give a higher price, or one seller of a house owner would like something personal about one possible buyer and would decide to give it in a very lower price. So these special circumstances sometimes do happen in these economic realities. But I think in architecture, for you to continue to be an architect, there constantly has to be special circumstances that keeps you going in a way. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I do agree. The problem is also nepotism in architecture in a way.
Yeah. This is actually one thing I wanted to talk about. Like, how does coming from a non-architect family or not growing up with architects close by affected your both choices, your career, and your feeling of security within the job, within the field in a way?
I wouldn't say that it's affected in a way, but I just can see that sometimes, maybe it's in like a thing in Russia, but I'm not. These people are still very talented, but you can see that kind of. If we're talking about like young specialists who are actually managing to like open their offices and be kind of successful on the local level, that most of the times the connections means a lot.
Yeah.
And you could be the talent, like, again, I don't want to like underrate the talent, the skill, because it's there most of the time. But the thing that you get your first project for your dad or from your mom, or they connect you with somebody. So that's very important. Just it helps if you want to move in independent way quite early, and also it requires lots of money, like having this financial like pillow behind you. Safety pillow.
Yeah, I can I just intercept. I almost was a part of a
Nepo baby.
Not a Nepo baby, of course, but I almost had a Nepo project. And it was supposed to be my deceased grandfather's childhood house that we had in a very historic city that my mom and my uncle and my aunt wanted to restore. And I was just graduating from my bachelor's and blah, blah, blah. So they connected me with the architect to sort of oversee the project, maybe help out with it and whatever. And then earthquake happened. The house is gone. Literally, as like the month I joined the project.
Oh, I have bad luck.
Bad luck, but now that I look at it, like I had one tiny opportunity of being a Nepo baby, and then my country. I know.
Yeah. Well.
But also, for example, right now I'm literally in an office of nepotism.
Okay.
The main architect, the second main architect, there's like two collaborative architects. There's an older and a younger one. Younger one is literally the niece. It's like literally the nepo of the main architect. And I see that really caused both of them to not push further because they don't know otherwise. You know, this is the only reality they have ever dealt with. They have no other idea of what other architecture might be because they was born into this, they dealt with this. The nephew came in, she also dealt with this her entire life. That's the only thing they know.
Do we put like difference between family businesses and nepo babies?
We could. Yeah. I mean, there is a difference. But I think, for example, I would have liked to have, well, this is not something you choose, but if I saw an architect up close as I was growing up, maybe that would give me another idea, you know? Because I never saw it before actually coming into the practice. I think I was quite surprised to see how the actual life of an architect looks like because we were just hearing about it. We never actually saw it. I think that was the one thing I would have wanted to have, maybe as a, yeah.
I had lots of, I had friends who were coming from the generations of architects. I would say it's like, I like to say that, and I'm sorry, it's out of topic, but on the first day of university, first day, like you just graduated school, you was enrolled and you were sitting in the big hall, and there would be a very old professor who would come there and say that God created Earth in 7 days. The rest was created by the architect. That was kind of the idea you were living until your first internship, when you actually see that it's a bit
different.
Yeah, but I would say like most of them had kind of a very like also a very beautiful and like inspiring image of profession. Maybe it's because of, you know, the generation of our parents have the economical situation was a bit different.
Absolutely. Even the urban building situation was so different.
And in a way, maybe just most of their parents were able to build some, you know, to build a life. And like to build a life as well. And I mean, maybe that's why also our parents thought that the architecture is kind of a safe way out.
I agree.
Of pursuing art in a way. So
yeah, I agree. I think they were seeing their friends or like same age people who do architecture make a living.
Yeah.
And I think now it's very different.
I feel like it changed a lot.
Yeah.
And also the way people work changed a lot, which I think I don't want to get on topic how worse it became, or I don't know enough to
depressed.
Yeah, but I would say it helps in a way that you're more prepared to certain situations, and you have a mentor in a way if you're close and if you're. So having the second opinion, having some kind of support, being surrounded by friends of a family, this helps.
Yeah,
because you have an easy access.
Absolutely.
Because with especially like the first 2 years, like in my university, for example, we didn't really like our professors. They weren't practicing architects. So in a way, you have a very vague understanding of what's happening.
That's true.
So having this opportunity to talk, to learn how to see the things differently.
Yeah. Is the part I'm really getting at.
Yeah.
And talking about mentors, did you have a mentor similar to this that you could go to?
I was really lucky with my professor on third, fourth, and fifth year. And after that, I worked with him for 2 years. No, no, even on a human level, I was really, I'll be forever grateful, and it was important for me just to, in a way that it's really hard to judge what you do, to see a professor who, like, if somebody who is accomplished in the profession, to see them be interested in you as a young professional, or seeing something new in general, it gives you this confidence.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like most of the professions, like architecture, any like humanitarian.
Yeah.
There is lots of insecurities. And you constantly compare yourself with everyone around, which is the right thing to do. You always have to compare yourself in a professional way, because otherwise you'll just
you'll be in your own reality. Yeah.
The moment you open your portfolio and you start liking it, let's imagine if you've done your portfolio a week ago and you like it, it's fine. If you've done your portfolio half a year ago and you open it and you still like it, that means that you're in trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is the thing, you have to always
updating yourself.
Yeah, and the only thing to kind of is to compare yourself with others. That's why it's also very important to study in good places, and like, even though it sounds disgusting, but be friends with people who are better than you.
I fully agree with that, by the way. I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned in bachelor's, is I was trying to both be friends and sort of work together with people that I could more easily work and communicate with. And then I realized it's really not helping me. Like, it's really, one, not pushing me forward. Two, they're really not helping me, and they're taking away from me. Like, from what maybe I could be contributing in. And three, it was really, the conversation was missing. So in the sense that there was no conversation towards getting better was missing, because the people I was trying to work with was very not that motivated.
Yeah,
I think that's also so important, to find people as passionate about something, doesn't matter what it is, to see something being into something they like to do, you know?
Yeah.
I think that really adds drive to what you're passionate about, even though it might not be the exact same thing. I think it's still hearing about someone else being super passionate about, I don't know, fishing, could provoke something in me, you know?
Yeah.
Because you see the extents people go to push their passions in a way.
Yeah. No, as we said before, the thing with the job is you have to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And be able to see the same subject from different perspectives. Because to be honest, we are like, it's a craft in a way, like craftsmanship, something you do with your hands.
Yeah.
So if we're not thinking about architecture as like some high like material, which I don't like to, because for me it's a place where people go to work, where they sleep, where they go to the bathroom and stuff like that. It's more simple than that.
Yeah.
But so you have to be grounded at some point. And you have to listen, be able to listen, to understand, to observe a lot. If we're speaking about like a general design, not.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to ask was, for example, looking from this point, also adding a bit context to your educational background. You first did your bachelor's in Moscow for 5 years, then you did a design course or architecture course in Bologna for 1 year, right?
No, it was less. It was like just 1 month.
Just 3 months. But what was it? Just architecture
design?
It
was like architecture and fashion. It was,
yeah. So it's a course on architecture and fashion design.
Yeah, it was just it was an interesting experience, because I've never kind of saw it from that sort of perspective. But it was more like general design.
And then you did 2 months.
Not 2 months.
4 months.
We started in September and October.
End of September, I'd say.
September, October, November, December. Oh, come on. All 4.
4?
September, October, November. Oh, I'm going to hang myself. Yeah. Yeah, kind
4?
of. Yeah.
And then you did the single course of project management. Which, okay, whatever. That was one course.
But to be honest, I'm happy. I think I did the best semester.
That was really good.
And this 4 months of Sapiensis was the best semester.
Yeah.
In terms of...
No, absolutely. I thought also that course was really helpful.
Yeah.
And then now you're doing your architectural design masters in Venice, in EUAV. From this point, if there was anything you would want to have had heard when you were entering architecture, what would it be? Like, what was the biggest, like, wow, I really didn't expect that?
The salaries?
Salaries?
Yeah. No,
That's actually a good point.
What I would recommend myself from the beginning is to learn as much programs as you can, because that's really important if you want to earn money, I think. I would say that I didn't fail completely on this part, but the more because everything changes so fast. And like the kids who are like 3 or 4 years younger now, they know things like before even starting architecture. So this is a very important thing, is just to keep up with.
I agree.
And also, like, to be honest, it's hard to say. I wish it's not something I were supposed to do. I think it's something I still can do, and I will probably do. I'll try to switch my focus more into into art, in terms of like trying to go to this side of architecture when
there's more like artistic expression or something.
Yeah, just because I feel I have the skill, and as every skill, I have to train it. I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And now I feel this is because I think every person who wants to make it in life somehow has to understand what you're good at. And I think this is something I'm not bad at least. And just working on it and kind of trying to use this skill more would be nice. I wouldn't say that it's hard to say, like, you'll ask if I would change the direction, like not pursuing architecture but pursuing something else. I think I wouldn't, maybe just because I don't know how does it feel to study anything else.
Yeah, that's true. But I think I also wouldn't change studying anything else. I think no matter how much I criticize architecture schools and how much I will continue criticizing them, I think still the learning and the teaching of architecture as a design practice is so clear. You learn how to have a mental framework of how to design anything. I think it gives you the tools to be able to think about how you can design in the largest scale possible, which is a great tool to design anything in any other scale.
Yeah.
You know?
No, like in general, like understanding space, environment. And I think like I will always think that it's so important to do stuff outside of school. Even though you don't have time or you think that you don't have it. I was so grateful that me and my friends, we were doing like weird stage projects, we were doing set designs and stuff like that, and it helped a lot because it's architecture is about problem solution in a way.
Yeah.
And it helps in many other things as well. How to make the things cheaper, faster, how to make them look nice, how to make them stand at least. So if you have a fucking hobby, if you have a hobby, don't forget about this hobby.
I agree.
Because if it's drawing, if it's, I don't know, programming something, if you like photography or like no matter what, but just try to incorporate it in some way or another, because I mean, being just obsessed with architecture is ugly.
I agree. It's very banal, I think.
Yeah,
It gets so boring. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like these people. Like we're been speaking about this for 1 hour, so maybe, but
Yeah.
you have to be, you have to wild your like eyesight as much as possible.
I agree. Yeah, I think, for example, if there's anyone listening who wants to get into architecture studies, I would say the biggest teaching for me was like keeping the curiosity, keeping the communication more than anything, like being curious about both people and things and subjects. And that was the biggest thing that taught me anything. Like I learned everything through that. Maybe not through the actual courses, but the curiosities I had about people, about certain other subjects, other even fields, other countries, cultures, whatever it is. The only reason I I moved further was because I kept being curious about it in a way. And I think that's how now I have my friends and I choose my friends from more curious people that ask strange questions, you know?
I had a talk with my friends a few weeks ago, and she was telling that her bosses, which are a married couple, both architects, they have a small child. And after like summer break, they were showing her photos of how they spend their summer, and it was just concrete buildings. And she was like, "But your child is 5 years old. I'm coming from architecture family. I would kill myself if my parents would just show me buildings and buildings and buildings. Like, don't like just go to the sea, lie on the beach. That's also life. It's beautiful." Yeah. So this kind of things also. No.
Yeah.
No, there has to be a balance.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think there's actually a good thing about education in Europe, at least masters. At least like what I experienced, it gives you a bit more time and opportunity to study on your own, because back home it was really, you were so busy and kind of under pressure during like it was just so intense, so many things you have to do, that I don't remember myself reading any book, for example, about architecture even. Just because like you read something quick to like write an essay or something, but it's not, you don't have time just to like stop and think.
I see.
We were more producing stuff rather than thinking about it, which is good in terms of your time management.
Yeah, you're fast at least. Yeah.
In terms of your skills, etc. But an architect also has to know how to think.
Yeah, I agree.
And what I think is different between my school and like the universities in Europe, that here maybe you work slower, maybe you're less skilled, less organized, worse in time management, but you know how to think because you had time, and kind of this was what professors were asking for you.
I agree. We had a lot of theory plus reading courses.
Because back home, sometimes if you manage to do a good render and a nice drawing plan, you don't have to explain.
Yeah, that's very strange to me, for example. Like, I was always pushed to mainly first having to explain the basis and then produce the drawings, which is also, I think, a strange attitude, because I realized approaching the third year, if my drawings look like shit, no one's gonna care about what I'm talking about. Which is like, it's a two-sided skill that you have to develop both sides. And I think finally, slowly, I'm sort of understanding how to do it, but it took me so long, and it was such a frustrating process to try and figure out why they're not getting my incredibly brilliant ideas, which they obviously weren't seeing it. I wasn't graphically able to express it. But also studying in Italy, they weren't really willing to listen to English. They wanted to look at pictures, but
well, there has to be a
the
balance.
balance, yeah.
But I remember, like, again, back home, there was no. Sometimes I think it's just another approach to architecture because it's also possible, but the idea, even though not an idea, maybe even the reasoning was less important than the execution, let's say, which also works sometimes, to be honest. Like if we're speaking about the apartment buildings, about real life, by the way, sometimes reasoning, I mean, the reasoning is money most of the time.
The reasoning is the client.
Yeah, and the client.
They want.
So it was less, like, more formal, but also that's because of the, like, climate and environment in the country, because it's huge. The buildings are being built still, and in this way there's just more job, rather than here, when, unlike building something new, something taller, something bigger, here it's a bit different.
Yeah.
So
you need to have incredibly valid reasons. Like that's where reasoning comes into practice, I think.
And also the time limits are completely different. Here the work is slower, it's more, at least, like, I mean, we're speaking in Italy. I was working in Milan and in Rome. Like in Milan it was completely a different thing. But in Rome it was super slow. It was a super small studio. And I understood that I never worked like this before. Because in the office I worked back home.
Very fast paced.
It was fast. It was it was much bigger office, but it also shows you how the scale could be different, because you can have a corporate job in architecture. You can have like a semi big office, which still like works with huge objects, big buildings. Big building sounds really professional. Big building.
Very architectural.
Yeah, and then there are small buildings also.
There is rooms, for example.
For the boxes, small boxes, big boxes. Yeah. So I was working in a small boxes office. So we were just doing like just a private house, which is like a tiny 1 hour squares of room for months and months.
Yeah, same for me, by the way. The previous interior design office I worked at, their main concern was renovating this tiny hotel. Not even hotel, by the way, just a floor that would be converted into a newer, chic-looking B&B for the Jubilee. The project started they took it in November. They wanted it, the client wanted it, the hotel to be opened by February for the Jubilee year. And guess when they opened? Last week. We are in October. Yeah, but it literally, since the moment I started working there, that was their only focus for months. And in this office I'm working now, there's, in addition, 2 more architects they're working with, but they have like 80 projects, which is also not healthy way of working. And they have a complete different approach to working, but still it shows how different time even works within companies, within big or small architecture firms, I think.
Yeah, no, it's in a way obvious, but also maybe the amount of these small firms which are willing to take students as kind of a cheap power. Maybe this kind of causes this like a big crisis in the profession, because there are so many of us. To be honest, nobody needs that many architecture graduates every year. And somehow I think in Europe it's very, like, it's a mass profession somehow, which it shouldn't be, because to be honest, you don't need that many. So this is why, like, I saw it in Rome mostly, because I think Milan's a bit different, but also not that different. There's so many these tiny studios for doing tiny projects, and it's obvious because there's not that many big projects here, which are not, especially in Rome, it's mostly restoration. But that's also, like, I was lucky with my experience in environment-wise. It was nice. It's something I needed because before that I had a very tough experience, and then I had the thing with Sapienza when I had to leave the course. So I needed something chill. And between like I had a possibility of choosing, and I chose the chiller one.
Yeah.
Even though it was like less, maybe gave me less in terms of skill and knowledge, but I just wanted to pass my time in peace.
Yeah, no, completely.
But it was interesting just to see how it could work.
Yeah.
And I like to tell the story, and I told you many times, how I found out that during weekends, the office is listed on Airbnb. And so
I think this is one of the best stories, by the way.
I understood how I'm getting my salary because I asked a bit more than they used to pay interns. And they said, okay. And then I saw the office on the Airbnb. I was like, okay, that's exactly how much I get per month. So this kind of makes me sad a bit because it looks like
they need to put the office in BNB just to pay an intern. But
no, they're lucky that the office is theirs. Like it's a property. So I just, when I think that this is kind of like a big part of the budget of a studio, that's a bit sad that it's really hard to earn money.
Yeah, and to give money and to
yeah. And so it's quite common not to be paid as a student at all, or like after, it's not an easy education to get. And your starting paycheck is, with all due respect to waiters, and that's a very fucking tough job, but they don't spend 7 years preparing for that.
I was working at the pub.
Yeah.
I was getting 10 euros an hour. Here in this current internship, I'm getting 4.
Oh, 4. Not too
but I bargained. And I had to bargain for it.
I had an internship.
It's a tragic difference.
I got 2 per hour.
It's insane.
And every other week we would leave at 4 o'clock in the morning and come back at 9 in the morning. For nothing.
For nothing.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, as in every profession, when there is lots of everybody scream at each other, but toxicity in the offices sometimes are crazy. And kind of this, there is, coming back to the professors who tell you about the 7 days and then what came after that, with the fact that this idea that the architect is some kind of a secret profession, and sometimes they think that that getting job is enough and you don't have to pay, and that you have this you have to be passionate about the work. And sometimes you want to say that I just wanted to have my 9 to 5 thing without being without treating it as my personal
goal,
life
goal.
I just want to work. And some of them kind of expect you to be
fully okay with that.
But to be like, I don't know, to be a bit obsessive. And this I don't want in my life, because I want to have life outside of the office.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Sonia,
I know that you'll cut it out, but
go ahead.
This is something that I was thinking about recently. Like all of my professors always were men, and like I'm old enough now, at least, to put this kind of thing on the table. So a few months ago, I was talking with my friend, and she was studying in Madrid, and she told me that, we have this lady, the professor, and she's amazing. And we went to a bar after and she tells me, and I decided to ask her an uncomfortable question. She asked her, do you have kids? And she said yes. And she said, how?
How?
Yeah, because in this, like when you're working like this, thinking about having a family sounds insane.
Yeah.
Because the moment you stop, like if you don't work for a year, there's so many, there is other people who take your job.
Yeah.
There are so many things you have to learn every day, that like being outside of the office for 3 years, for 2 years, or even 1 year, that's a lot.
Yeah.
and then this is a full-time job. And so they had this conversation. I was like, okay, it's like, please tell me all day. Like, how?
Yeah.
Rich husband and nannies, unfortunately. No, but that's a very interesting because most of us are in couples with architects as well, just because that's the only people you see. And knowing that this is a full-time job with
infinite personal life requirements from you, constant personal time sacrifices.
And since we were talking about them expecting you to work extra hours because you're not working for a salary, but you're working for this big cause, then you think like, okay, I'll be in my 30s and I'll be in my 40s, but I also want to have life and family. I'm not even speaking about the hobbies at this point. But in the way for women, and also like in my university, we had in the group like 17 girls and 3 boys. But it was still always treated like a man profession. And of course there is like a bigger reasons for that, and which we don't have time to go for. But in the offices there are lots of women most of the time.
But it's still treated as if the stars are always the men.
Yeah, because you're working with men in their 60s. And the big money on the table, and they feel more comfortable with it to speak with another man in their 60s rather than with a girl who actually designed the stuff. But that's okay. Like, we're used to that. It's okay. But also, how are supposed to like to have family, to have kids,
to even think and I don't know, plan to have something like that. It's very difficult, unfortunately.
Because our generation can't afford to buy a car. I'm not just speaking about apartment and stuff like that.
Even simple car, I think for our age group and our generation is definitely 50 times difficulty than 30, 20, 10 years ago, I think. But Sonia, it was amazing to have you. Thank you so much for being my first ever guest.
Thank you.
I thought it was an excellent start. Thank you for listening and hope to see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.